There are creatures people tell stories about, and then there are creatures people warn you about. Not to entertain you, but to protect you. In Southern Africa, there is a belief that if you speak certain names too often, especially at night, something may begin to listen. This is not a legend meant to frighten children. This is the Tokoloshe. You asked for more, so here is part 2. Now, this is not a folklore in the safe sense of the word. When anthropologists first documented Tokoloshe belief in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, they were struck by something unsettling. People did not speak about the Tokoloshe in the past tense. It was not long ago, it was not once upon a time, it was now. The Tokoloshe appears throughout ethnographic records as an active threat, blamed for night paralysis, sexual violation, chronic illness, madness, sudden death, and domestic collapse. Anthropologist Eileen Jensen-Kriege noted the Tokoloshe belief function as part of a coherent system of cause and effect, not superstition for entertainment. Something bad happened. Someone sensed something. That something arrived. Now, the Tokoloshe didn't begin in the bedroom. The most disturbing thing about the Tokoloshe is that the version people fear today is not its original form. Early accounts place the Tokoloshe near water, rivers, stagnant pools, and flooded earth. In pre-colonial cosmology, water was not neutral, it was a boundary space, a place where spirits crossed over. Harriet Ngobani documented that water spirits were believed to be highly dangerous, easily angered, and easily controlled by those with knowledge. The Tokoloshe is believed to have begun as one of these lesser water entities, something amphibious, half aware, and hungry. A water sprite, in other words. It did not hunt humans at first. It was taught. How the Tokoloshe is made is something to be spoken about. This is where the horror becomes intentional. The Tokoloshe is not born, it is constructed. Historical accounts describe witches creating a Tokoloshe using river mud, grave soil, and human remains, all items belonging to the intended victim. In some traditions, a corpse is reanimated and stripped of memory and ancestry, turning a human body into a tool of destruction. In others, a water spirit is bound into flesh, trapped inside something physical and obedient. Adam Ashforth describes the Tokoloshe as the ultimate expression of human-directed evil, not fate nor accident. Someone chose a target. Now let's talk about the creature's anatomy. Witness descriptions separated by geography and decades remain eerily consistent. The Tokoloshe is described as being no taller than a child, heavy despite its size, with arms that hang too long, a distended belly as if bloated, skin or hair that appears damp or oily, a smell described as stagnant water or rot. Its face is often reported as almost human, flattened, watching rather than emoting, and eyes. They are recurring detail. They are large, reflective, aware. Many witnesses say the eyes are the last thing they remember seeing, if they see it at all. Now you may be wondering about the invisibility. The Tokoloshe does not simply turn invisible, it is made invisible. Traditional belief holds that witches prepare a medicinal mixture of ground herbs, ash, river clay, and ritual oils, which is rubbed onto or consumed by the creature. This grants selective invisibility. Adults cannot see it, children sometimes can, or those considered spiritually open may glimpse it briefly. Its presence known through mattress compression, breathing sounds, or cold air on the skin, finger indentations, movement without form, or the sound of shells or teeth clinking together. The Tokoloshe does not need to be seen, it wants to be felt. Now, the nighttime attack pattern. The Tokoloshe comes when you are asleep or almost asleep. This is not random. In this state, the body cannot fight. The mind is susceptible to fear. It is amplified. Victims report weight on the chest, inability to move, pressure around the throat, and the sense of being watched. Long before science named sleep paralysis, people already knew the cause. The Tokoloshe had arrived. And unlike a nightmare, it had intention, violation without witness. Some of the most disturbing Tokoloshe accounts involve sexual assault. These stories appear repeatedly in oral histories, missionary records, and colonial court documents. Women reported waking to violation without physical attacker. In belief systems, the explanation was direct. The Tokoloshe came invisibly. It left trauma. It left fear. And it often returned. And why beds are raised is the next question. One of the simplest defenses against the Tokoloshe is also the most telling. Beds raised on bricks is the belief that is precise. The Tokoloshe is short. It cannot climb easily. Elevation creates distance. This practice persists today, not always explained and not always questioned. Fear adapts. It does not disappear. Now, why is the Tokoloshe still feared? The Tokoloshe represents something uniquely horrifying, a monster that is sent. It does not choose victims, it is assigned them. It is proof within belief that human malice can be given claws, weight, and breath. And that means the real danger may not be a creature at all, but human in nature. Now, before continuing, I need to explain why I'm telling this story, because this isn't just research for me. It isn't just folklore. I encountered the Tokoloshe in my own experience. The first encounter happened at a camp. So when I was a teenager, I went to a camp far away from the city. It was supposed to be harmless, jokes, laughter, boredom, nothing unusual. But early on, we were given a warning. The security guard told us very clearly, do not cross the river. On the other side was forest, land, and within it a witch doctor's hut. We were warned not to go near it, not to touch anything, not to explore. That warning stayed with me, and like most warnings meant to protect you, it made me curious. So one afternoon, a friend and I crossed the river. We found the hut, much to our amazement, and I went inside. I touched things I shouldn't have touched. I moved bottles I shouldn't have moved. I shifted herbs, handled objects hanging from the ceiling. My friend wouldn't come closer. He stayed outside, shaking and waiting for me. Then he called out to me. He had heard something moving in the bushes. We both looked over to the bushes, and at first I thought it was an animal, and so did he. Then it stepped forward, and what we saw can only be described as a dirty pig-like creature with glowing eyes. My friend ran immediately, leaving me to stand all by myself. And when I looked again, it was gone. We went back to camp and said nothing at first. Obviously, we don't want to be judged. That night we slept. And around 2 a.m., my friend woke me up. He needed to use the bathroom, but he was too scared to go alone, obviously, after the happenings of the day. So I went with him. While he used the toilet, I stood near the door and waited. There was a knock. I opened it and no one was there. I closed it. Then came another knock. Now I was thinking someone is going to be trying to make a prank on us now. It was louder this time. I kicked the door open, shouting, assuming someone was trying to scare us. Then it happened. A massive impact hit the door so hard it broke the top hinge clean off. I kicked the door open and ran outside, shouting and swearing, adrenaline fully taking over. I ran around the building, expecting to see one of our friends, and I came face to face with it. The Tokoloshe stood there, short, about the size of a 10-year-old child, glowing eyes, large ears, a grotesque face, and somewhere between a monkey and a goblin. Its hair was coarse and bristled like a warthog's, its skin oiled and leathery and slick, almost wet. Its legs bent backward like a goat's hind legs. It straightened slightly when it saw me. And then instinct took over. Flight or fight. I chose fight, being the person that I am. I lunged at it, fist clenched, shouting without even realizing what I was saying. It turned and ran. And even though it was smaller than me, I couldn't keep up no matter how hard I tried. It ran toward the river and then mid-run, it vanished. Thin air, just gone. As if it had never been there. Now, years later, I didn't talk about it much after that. And further years passed, and one night at a friend's house, I was awake playing Xbox in the early hours of the morning. I heard knocking at the window. Nothing was there. Even after I checked, I thought it was just the wind. Then the knocking came again, and this time from multiple windows at once. I opened the curtain, and to my surprise, it was standing in the garden, watching me. It took a step back, and it disappeared into the shadows. A few years passed, and I was an adult working construction near Bloemfontein in South Africa. And one day, the thought of the Tokoloshe crossed my mind, out of nowhere. I hadn't been thinking about the Tokoloshe for years. That night, at a bed and breakfast, I was laying in bed when a chill ran through the room. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, I was pulled out of bed. It stood over me, bent forward, looking directly into my eyes. Then it straightened up, stepped back, and it vanished into the corner of the room. Just gone. And I have never seen it again. Many years later, I tried to get an explanation, and I spoke to a witch doctor I knew. They explained it like this. Years ago, when I trespassed on sacred ground, on a hut that wasn't meant to be disturbed, the Tokoloshe wasn't sent to harm me. It was sent to watch me, to assess my intentions. And once it knew I meant no harm, it left me alone. Now, that's no harm to the witch doctor, but not before making something very clear. If I ever crossed that line, it could hurt me. Now, people ask if I'm afraid. The truth is, once you've seen something like that, fear isn't loud anymore. It's quiet, like a gentle stream. Now, people who encounter the Tokoloshe rarely say the same thing afterwards, but they all agree on one detail. Once you believe it has touched you, you never sleep the same way again. Now, this is the final warning. The Tokoloshe is not a story about monsters. It's a story about vulnerability, human jealousy, the terror of unseen harm. And whether you believe it exists or not, there are still people tonight sleeping with their beds raised, just in case. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe.